Hello and welcome to the last in our Spotlight series on healthcare. If you haven't been seen any of our episodes in the series, I recommend that you download them. Today we're going to be focusing on the patient account, accounts payable, and also accounts receivable. To help me with this topic today, I have been joined by my lead partners in the health vertical who use some of our Kofax solutions, and that is Nalika and Leanne from Data Capture Experts. Welcome, guys.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Mark.
Mark.
Thanks for joining me again. I feel a little bit, I don't know if I should be teary. It's only been 5 in the series, but we have covered a lot of ground here in healthcare, and it's great to hear some of the war stories that you've got in regards to that. And now I suppose we're moving into the back office. That's my definition. I'm not sure if that's used a lot in health. And so, for a bit of a problem statement before I kind of head in and give some questions, uh, Leanne, can you kind of give us the problem statement that you're seeing here, I suppose, in the back office? And like, this is a bit of a cheesy graphic, but I think it sort of can lead us into the conversation of further dive into.
Yeah, sure thing, Mark. I think that in health in particular, clinical staff really don't want to have to think about how health is funded. They sort of would rather block that piece of the story out and focus on caring for the patient. But of course, once you get into those management and more senior roles, you know that health doesn't work unless it's funded. And that's just the reality of the world we're in. So we need to find ways to be able to manage that. And this back office picture really is what happens at the back office of every health service you go to, whether that's your GP, your specialist clinics, inside a private hospital, in a public hospital, in a community health service. There are the lifeblood, the things that pull all of the service together are your admin staff, who are generally the ones managing all of the financial things. So whether that finance is around public activity-based funding, whether that is Medicare funding, whether it's private patient fees, whether that's the bills that you've got to pay to keep the power and the lights on for your service, there's a lot of work that gets done in the background to make sure that all works so that the funding does roll through. And one of the great examples I always found was when I worked in health service A, but we needed to procure health service B to provide a certain service for us. So we would have to create a purchase order and send that out, and then they would provide the service, and then they'd send us an invoice. And then we'd have to go back in the system to check to make sure that invoice matched the purchase order that we sent, and that we'd need to approve it in line with our instrument of delegation. And then we'd send that off to finance, and then finance would pay it, and then someone would go back into another system to make sure that amount come off the patient account. And all of that's happening often on bits of paper and these little inter-office envelopes floating around organisations, but also in multiple systems. So you can't get a good feel of exactly where your finances are often until the end of the month, because it's not all in one place and there's too many hands involved and lots of shuffling of paperwork around a large organisation. So all of that's taking up time. And one of the things that's always been important to me is that you don't want your clinical staff, or even your management staff, spending too much time on really simple processes when they could be seeing more patients, or they could be finding better ways to see more patients. So you want that kind of work to be as efficient as it can be, I think, so that those people are focusing on the work that you really want them to focus on. While finance is important and we can't run without it, really, it's not the stuff that we're there for.
Yeah, well, and that's exactly right. I think that's a good segue to sort of sort of put a bit of structure now into, I suppose, the areas of finance that are relatable to health. So let's go on that revenue side or the accounts receivable side and talk a little bit about the funding or the claims, right? And excuse my definitions here, but we're getting money from different sources, right? We're getting government funding, we're getting Medicare, we're getting claims, and all of these kind of things. Can any of you kind of explain those different funding things and maybe a bit of the complication that happens with some of those areas?
Yeah, sure. I can take that question, Mark. So in healthcare, different types of services delivered under different funding models. It could be as simple as fee-for-service model, where you charge the patient at the end of the service appointment, or it could be activity-based funding and block funding models. Obviously, there are different funding models that applies to the public health services versus private, and also it requires private health insurance claiming models. There some of the claims need to be made for the private health insurance and collection. And all of most of these activities that deliver what we call the service activities that the healthcare service provider delivered, it always have a method of charging back to the patient or back to the Medicare, or claim back to the funder. It could be a government agency or that body that fund that particular program of work.
Yeah.
So it is very important when a provider delivers services, services are structured, and the system that they're using has the ability to accurately produce the reporting for the activities that they deliver.
I've got an image here of 1,000 spreadsheets. And would I be correct in saying that, someone has to check and probably check the checking and losing eyesight on trying to know, this code needs to match that code, make sure that this line service to make that reporting accurate, right? So the biggest pain point I'm seeing is that this is manual and probably prone a little bit to potential human error because it is manual. Am I about right? Like, how would you explain that?
Yeah, that's correct. The automation in this area, the back office automation is really crucial. Otherwise, the admin teams will be spending a lot of time in terms of creating these reports or invoices, and following them up, and also getting that paid. That's something a system, the automation really kicks in. The ability to generate these statements, documents, invoices for the patients, send them out, and also track them as part of the revenue cycle management.
Yep.
And obviously there are different channels that these in relation to the fee for service models, the patient billing, or when you invoice the patient, how this invoice get delivered, how it get tracked, and get that payment collected. This is where the modern channels such as patient portal come really handy, and the ability to share these documents through the patient portal, their statements, and how much is due, etc., and get that real-time visibility and control of the overall process.
Must be so many channels. I'm just thinking, like, credit card, bills, funding, all kinds of different arrangements. So that AR function must be really busy as far as getting that and maintaining and being on top of that stuff, because like Leanne mentioned, they're in the business of looking after patients, but without money we can't service the patients, right? So there has to be a good, strong validation set of rules and appliances there. Can you help me understand a little bit then, in some of these channels, how much today is digital or emailed or manually sent in through snail mail or post and stuff? Like, is there any automation happening there? And where do you guys add value in sort of making that a bit easier for that function to automate?
Core problem here is essentially the disconnected nature of systems, and health service providers, they some has a patient management system where the clinical and information is kept. And then there's administrative systems where the referrals and all the administrative details are kept, and there's a finance system. There's always 3-4 systems, and then the communication elements sits outside all three. Typically, the outbound and inbound correspondences.
Right.
So where we add value is to make sure that provide systems that are connected together, where the administration modules talking to the clinical modules and get that information, what's been delivered, what appointments delivered, what are the service activities delivered under that appointment, and make sure that seamless integration with the finance system that feed that information back, which can have that back office workflows kick off. So if you think this as a workflow process perspective, things become much more easier, but they require connected module architecture to information flow from referrals all the way to the assessments and the eligibility checks, the service delivery back to the finance, to make that smooth. And that's where the digital transformation programs and initiatives can make this process improve.
Yeah. So to get that real visibility through that whole process, even though it's multiple systems that are probably going to have to be touched, you can provide that visibility because you've got control of the workflow, and you can be unique in the design of how those health services are actually operating. Yeah, that's good to know. So speaking a little bit about like the revenue side there, the next obvious place for health is to the expense side, so the accounts payable side. Now, it's always, I suppose, got that flavour of it's a painful activity, paying suppliers. But when you're in a kind of a service-orientated industry, you want to pay suppliers because they're giving you your products and stuff that you need to put onto your service and care, right? So in me, there's the validation kind of comes into play of accuracy, timing. I mean, there's a few government rules on time, paying people on time, and I think that's only going to get bigger and better. But most people would say that ERP has an accounts payable function, and it would just, I've got one. What do I need to go to any other digital automation? What do you say to that statement, Nalika, as far as, what can be done? Where's the extra layer of automation that people need to consider?
Yeah, so when it comes to healthcare, Mark, while the finance system can do the general accounts, the payable side, it is very important to integrate or get that feed up information from the clinical systems and the administrative systems, because some of these payments or collections are in relation to the patient services that's been delivered. And particularly when it comes to the accounts payable side of the things, that healthcare is a large ecosystem, as you know, that some of these services as a health service provider can be delivered in-house, most of them clinically oriented, but non-clinically oriented services are delivered by what we call a model of brokerage, which are external service providers. And those external providers need to deliver their services and send their invoices, which come to the accounts payable side. Now these invoices not only need to be matched to the purchase order, but also need to be make sure that the services being delivered to the patient, and that's another function involved, which involves the case managers that require their approvals and approvals. I think the digital perspective, I think the industry is moving toward the e-invoicing, and which is really the next wave of level of automation that we are looking at, and the improvement, which will reduce the cycle, the payment cycles, which means better cash flow prediction and quality of services all around from the very top to the bottom.
That you've just, I didn't really realise that when you talk about, excuse me, in that I'm going to call it the receipt of services, right? Whereby you want to make sure that they happened, right? So there's got to be another sort of checkpoint validation in that. I'd assume too, depending on the service provider that was brokered, I think that was the term you used, brokered out, that would then require another element of, whether it's once again, another email, another workflow step, that if everyone defines their own, then you've got a whole mess of stuff that you're asking the accounts payable function to manage, right? And so I'm assuming that this is what you're talking about, digitizing that. You guys can help with that process as far as matching those elements in an automated fashion, so that really the objective would be to just validate the anomalies. Would that be a fair statement? Everything else should be lights out. Well, I mean, to the best of the ability, right? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, that's correct. The more the services are moved to purchase order based, invoicing, and a lot of these activities can be automated and cross checked. and system will bring that all that view in front of the case managers and the clinical staff that need to be cross-checked and reduce their time involved in terms of looking at multiple systems, which increase the efficiency and the accuracy, and so that they can focus on what matters the most, as opposed to a lot of following up and manual administrative work.
Yeah. I've always got a dream that, the finance function should be allowed to actually get out from behind the desk and actually probably, help the services understand some of the revenue and costing elements of what they deliver. I mean, no one's going to be in the operating room exactly, but, I just feel like there's some more information that can be done at a more granular level if all of this, let's call it manual tasks that can be automated and digitated are actually implemented. That's my dream. I don't know. I mean, it's like, I don't know if it's an unrealistic dream, but I hope that that kind of gives a bit of a feel on that. Is there anything else that you just want to quickly sum up, Leanne or Nalika, in regards to the finance function and the digital, I suppose, or the automation, transformation, what can be done or what people should consider that they might not have considered before, or something that we haven't covered in this conversation just now?
I guess one last thing is the importance of process analytics in this area. The analytics when it comes to the finance dashboards, real-time dashboards that need to be sourced from different modules and different elements. That gives that revenue predictability, and also the invoices in flight that need to get paid, the payment responsibilities as well. That really helps finance functions to balance those payments and receipts.
So what you're talking there is the opportunity that if you've got this visualization of the process as well, not just the expense management, because I think people think finance, it's just a P&L or an expense listing or something. What you're talking about is the process efficiency, like where are things happening? Where are the approvals sitting? What's that workflow logic? When people see that, there is an opportunity to just be improving on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. It probably helps with other understandings, where the process might be upstream or downstream. Once you got it all there digitized, you can actually get a bit more decision elements. This has been a great series to be involved with. It wasn't just this one episode that we've done. We've done 5 all up, and I thoroughly recommend anyone that's attended today, go back and have a little listen. There's always a soundbite somewhere in the middle of our conversations. We're trying to keep all of them to 20, 25 minutes. So a coffee and a half kind of break, I think, should be able to get you through it. If you've registered for this event, you'll get another email to actually help you log in and actually grab a version of these for you to watch on demand in your own time. Just one last thing before I wrap this up is that don't underestimate booking some time with DCE. They do offer this free 30-minute consult. Leanne, did you want to sort of throw out and tell us a little bit of why people should try and sign up for this?
Yeah, absolutely. Please do get in touch with us. There's lots of experience within our organisation, both from a clinical perspective, but also from a system and process and workflow perspective. So we can sit and help you work through where is the problem, where is the block, or where is the bottleneck within your organisation where you would like to see improvement and efficiency. And we can help you work through, where we think that those problems are starting from, and help you work backwards from there and see what sort of digital solutions are available to help support those and improve them. So please, by all means, get in touch. It's no obligation. Just get in touch, have a conversation, and we'll see how much we can help.
And of course, don't underestimate that email if you need any sort of bullet point questions or queries, or even thoughts, because sometimes some of these digital transformations aren't always well defined. Sometimes it's just a conversation to get the, I suppose, the thought bubble getting in motion. So thanks again, guys. Thanks, Nalika. Thanks, Deanne. Been really enjoyable. I hope everyone that's attended has gotten something out of this, and look forward to doing more of these maybe in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks.
Thanks.